who served as British ambassador to Iran and joins me now. The continuing, and I have to say, widespread criticism of Sir Keir Starmer in many of the newspapers' editorials this morning. Sir Richard, how fair is that criticism in your view? Good morning.
It's unfair.
All right, let's talk about a moment that perfectly captures the clash between calm diplomacy and loud, agenda-driven media commentary. In the clip you're about to see, a former British ambassador steps into a tense exchange and absolutely dismantles the kind of aggressive, war-hungry talking points that have become all too common in certain corners of political media. And sitting on the other side of that exchange is none other than radio host Nick Ferrari, a broadcaster who has built a reputation for pushing a very predictable line whenever global conflict enters the conversation. But this time, the script doesn't quite go the way you might expect. Instead of allowing the discussion to spiral into the usual fear-driven rhetoric and simplistic good versus evil framing, the ambassador calmly pushes back with facts, context, and a dose of reality that clearly catches the host off guard. What follows is a fascinating moment where decades of diplomatic experience collide with a style of commentary that seems far more interested in scoring political points than actually understanding international law or global strategy. And when you watch it unfold, you'll see exactly why this exchange has people talking. Because sometimes all it takes is one person with real-world expertise to expose just how flimsy these loud political narratives can be when they're finally challenged. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now let's watch this moment together. And afterward, we'll break down exactly what happened and why this exchange says a lot about the way these debates are being framed right now.
Who served as British ambassador to Iran and joins me now. The continuing, and I have to say, widespread criticism of Sir Keir Starmer in many of the newspapers' editorials this morning. Sir Richard, how fair is that criticism in your view? Good morning.
It's unfair. There was a verbal negotiation which the Israelis and the United States aborted. Secondly, we've caught the Americans on the raw at a time when they're having great difficulty domestically with justifying this war. There is no majority in the United States for this war. There was clear indications from leaders of Congress after the briefing a few days before it was launched that there was no reason shown to them why there was a case for compelling reasons for the United States to go to war at this time. They're now soft-pedaling their regime change justification. They are now preparing their people for a long period of war against what the American people had a hope to expect. So when Britain confirms the position taken by France, Germany, and itself and all our other European partners not to participate in the opening strikes, this is a difficult moment for the Americans, and they're lashing out against us, and we should not be unduly impressed by it. We should stick to a course which is in accordance with international law, while at the same time assisting the United States. That is, in brief, what Prime Minister Starmer is doing.
So when it comes to defending UK citizens in the region, we don't even do it ourselves?
We are doing it.
We're not, Sir Richard.
Assisting.
We're allowing US aircraft.
We're actively assisting the United States in trying to destroy the Iranian missiles, which are raining down on.
But we didn't
the Gulf
even defend
States.
our own base in Cyprus, Sir Richard. We left that to the Americans as well. I mean, how impotent should the United Kingdom look in your view?
We're not looking impotent in the slightest. That was one small drone
which we didn't defend.
Launched by Hezbollah, and active steps were taken subsequently against the two drones that were directed at Akrotiri, which were successful. So we also have British planes in the skies assisting our partners in the Gulf to defend themselves against Iranian missiles. So the imputation that the UK is being weak is wrong.
When it comes to the Ayatollah and the now dead Ayatollah, what is it that gives you confidence that negotiations could have proceeded and come to fruition?
The clear statements by the Omani foreign minister who was mediating, and my own knowledge of the points which the Iranians were prepared to concede. These negotiations take time. Before they were aborted by Israel and the United States, many people pleaded for the United States to treat them seriously, but plainly they did not.
But what is it you admire most about the former Ayatollah's regime, then?
What a daft question.
Why is that a daft question?
I haven't indicated any admiration for the Ayatollah's regime.
My understanding, and you'll be closer to it than I.
Why would you,
my
as a senior
understanding is, and you'll be closer to ISA, Richard, there were people being killed.
Would you suggest that that's what
Because if you let me answer, my understanding, and you're closer to it than I, is this is a regime that was killing certainly possibly 5,000, possibly 35,000 of its own people, and imprisoning thousands more. It was a regime that I would have thought needed to go. So I'm asking, what possibly could it be that you admired in that regime?
There are a great many regimes around the world which need to go. But the important issue for Britain's national security is the framework set out after the end of the First World War to minimize the chances of the law of the jungle taking over from international law should be preserved. I'm afraid that our right-wingers, including Jeremy Hunt, are forgetting the lessons of the sacrifices of 20th century generations to try and prevent the law of strong powers overwhelming the rights of nations. And as a relatively weak power, United Kingdom security is dependent long-term on re-establishing the rule of law.
But
now,
lastly,
we didn't go in with the United States on Vietnam
No, indeed.
or on Somalia.
But I just
we
wonder-
didn't participate in the war of choice against Yemen. It's nothing extraordinary for us to take a different position from the United States. And the people who are panicking about it are the Americans,
But I wonder-
because it's their domestic political problem,
wonder
which they fear we have exacerbated.
Lastly, I wonder, Sir Richard, the rules, as you rightly point out, that were established after the First World War, with players such as President Xi, the late Ayatollah, President Putin on the world stage, are those laws still applicable? Laws that came about more than 100 years ago?
Oh, come on. 100 years ago, in the course of human history, when human nature is what it is...
But obviously we didn't have a Putin, or we didn't have an Ayatollah, or we didn't have a Xi at those times.
We have had lots of them in the past, and it is wrong for us to think that just because we face a Trump and a Putin now, the laws which are there to protect small nations should somehow be jettisoned.
Okay.
The absence of a plan, Starmer was right to point out that. The absence of a legal base, he was right to point out that.
Grateful for your time. Thank you very much, Sir Richard Dalton. You served as British ambassador to Iran.
Now let's step back for a second and talk about the bigger picture behind what we just watched. First of all, credit where it's due. The former British ambassador deserves real respect for standing his ground in that interview. It's not easy walking into a studio where the framing of the conversation is already pushing in one direction. But instead of getting pulled into emotional talking points, he calmly pushed back with facts, context, and a focus on diplomacy. And that's exactly where the tension in this exchange comes from. Nick Ferrari's program has long represented a very clear political viewpoint in British media. His interviews often focus on criticizing the current government, and in this case, the argument was that the UK should be taking a much more aggressive stance toward Iran, similar to the approach taken by the United States and Israel. But the ambassador wasn't buying that framing. Instead, he kept bringing the conversation back to international law and diplomacy. His point was simple. Global tensions don't mean countries should abandon the legal frameworks that were designed to prevent conflicts from escalating. And that's where this debate connects to a much larger political story. Over the past several years, many analysts have pointed out the growing influence of Trump-style politics beyond the United States. There's been a visible effort from political movements aligned with that approach to shape conversations in Europe as well. In the UK, figures like Nigel Farage are often seen as part of that broader political ecosystem. And debates like the one we just watched often reflect that wider ideological battle. Now, to be fair, every government deserves scrutiny, and the current British leadership is no exception. But what made this moment interesting was how firmly the ambassador pushed back against the idea that strength only means escalation. Instead, he argued that real strength sometimes means restraint, diplomacy, and respect for international rules. And clearly, that's a message that not everyone in the media wants to hear. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.